Sir, Mr. P Chidambaram, the Honourable Finance Minister, has been a father figure for skill development movement in India. From the announcement of the formation of the NSDC in his budget speech in 2008 to the announcement of the reward and certification scheme in his budget speech of 2013, Mr. Chidambaram has always stressed on the need for a skilled workforce for the country's economic progress and the development of India's youth. May I now request the Honourable Finance Minister to please address the gathering and thereafter launch the Monetary Awards website.
Shri Ramadure, Chairman, National Skill Development Corporation, my colleagues, Shri Jairam Ramesh, the Minister for Rural Development, Shri Montek Singh Ahluwalia, Deputy Chairman, Planning Commission, Secretary Mayaram, distinguished leaders of industry and business, distinguished friends from the sector skills councils, other distinguished invitees, my dear young friends. What we are doing today is perhaps one of the most important initiatives that we have launched, that we will launch shortly, that will help reap the demographic dividends that we are talking about for the last many years. We have claimed that we are one of the youngest countries in the world, that more than one-half of the people of this country are below the age of 25 years, that every other country, and certainly every other large country, is aging at a very fast rate, that India is the only large country which will have a very large proportion of its workforce and people who are young until, of course, we also begin to age. In fact, I recall we have talked about the demographic dividend for many years, but what have we done to reap it? There is a popular misconception that jobs are not created in this country. And I'm afraid if an incorrect statement is repeated again and again, people tend to believe it. Between 2004-05 and 2009-10, 20 million jobs were actually created in this country. 2 crore jobs were created in this country. While unemployment increased in most countries, especially large countries, in India, the unemployment rate actually declined from 8.3% to 6.6%. In the organized sector alone, total employment increased from 26.5 million in the year 2005 to 29 million in the year 2011. That was a rise of about 9%. And if you break it by gender, the number of women employed in the organized sector increased by 19%. So jobs have been created, people have been gainfully employed. But at the same time, a very large number of people do not have the skills to do the job they are doing, or to do the job they want to do, or to do the jobs which go a begging. When I talk to industry and business, they tell me that they cannot find the right people with the right skills. And even if they find people, they are people with very low-grade skills. A welder is a very low-grade welder. An electrician is a very low-grade electrician. A plumber is a low-grade plumber. A mason is a low-grade mason. So while creating jobs is one part of the effort, skilling people to do the jobs is the other part of the effort. We cannot create jobs on one side and have unskilled or low-skilled people doing those jobs. Therefore, in the year 2008, we announced the formation of the National Skill Development Corporation. It has taken us some time to come to the stage that we are in today. The corporation has done good work in the last few years, but now I think they have gained both an experience and knowledge so that they can launch what I consider one of the most ambitious schemes ever launched in this country. What are we doing? We have here several pillars who are supporting this program. The first is the sector skills councils. Industry and trade are the drivers of these councils. They are the persons who run these councils. They have taken ownership of these councils. And I would sincerely urge them to make these sector skills councils stronger and more efficient and more effective. Without the pillar of the sector skills councils, this program cannot go forward. I'm happy that 21 sector skills councils have started work in earnest. Many of them have initiated pilots. Many of them have laid down the standards, and some are in the process of laying down the standards. Ultimately, as Mr. Ramadure said, we hope to have 40 sector skills councils supporting this program. The second pillar is those who will provide the training institutes. There are a very large number of training providers in this country, but only some of them will meet the exacting standards that NSDC will set. In fact, I'm told that there are 2,500 training centers in this country, and nearly one half of the country is actually covered by one or more training centers. How many of them will be approved by NSDC to provide the training that we envisage under this scheme is a test of the quality of the training centers. Suppose you're running a training center today, but it does not qualify. It doesn't mean you will not qualify ever. It's possible for you to upgrade your training centers, acquire more training equipment, acquire better qualified trainers, and apply again. Because I'm sure NSDC will require a large number of training centers. I think they've already approved about 87 training organizations. 55 are likely to be approved shortly. But we need many, many more training providers. And that is the second pillar of the scheme. The third pillar of the scheme is the assessment and certifying agencies. In fact, they are very critical to the success of the scheme. They will be third parties. Nobody who provides training will be allowed to be an assessor or a certifying agency. They will be the third pillar. There will be third parties. And they must administer these tests rigorously, pass only those who deserve to be passed, and certify them in the manner approved by the NSDC. They must fiercely guard their independence and integrity so that a certificate issued by that assessing agency or certifying agency jointly with the NSDC will have a value in the market. It's not enough to distribute certificates freely or loosely or liberally. It's important that every boy or girl who undergoes this program is actually trained to the level that the certificate says he or she is being trained. And there will be different levels of training also. Skills are of different levels. You can have a plumber with a low skill, a plumber with a higher skill, and a plumber with an even higher skill. So I think certifying agencies must gear up to being rigorous assessing and certifying agencies so that the certificate carries a very high value in the marketplace. The last and most important pillar are the young men and women. Now, without them, there is no scheme. They must voluntarily come forward to acquire skills. This is a nation which boasted of the best craftsmen, the best construction workers, and the best skilled personnel in different fields. Hundreds of years ago, we could build a Taj Mahal, but why are we putting up a multi-story building today which comes crashing down in 10 years? I think we must rediscover our roots and our strengths and our capabilities. For too long, we have tolerated poor quality and shoddiness in our work. We must reject anything that is of substandard quality. In fact, I often joke by saying, it's the only country where we proudly advertise export quality as one quality and export reject quality as another quality. How can an export reject qualify as a quality standard? We must seriously work towards, if you put up a building, it must be the building of best quality. Similarly, our young men and women are capable of absorbing these skills. But they must be motivated to come and join the scheme and acquire these skills. Today, skills are being transmitted from father to son or by the supervisor to the worker. Look at our masons. Look at our carpenters. Look at our goldsmiths. The skill is being transmitted from father to son or uncle to nephew or from the employer to an employee. But he can only transmit whatever skill he has. Whereas technology, new instruments for measurement, new instruments for testing, have shown that the skills can be upgraded to a much higher level. In welding, for example, there are different levels of skills, and you can easily make out the difference in welding if you compare the old Ambassador and the Mercedes-Benz. Both are cars, both have been welded, but any child will know the difference between the quality of welding in the old Ambassador car and in the Mercedes-Benz. It was once thought that the Indian worker cannot make a Mercedes-Benz here. In fact, the president of the corporation, when he met me many years ago before the company set up shop here, said, "How do I make a Mercedes-Benz in your country with your workers?" I said, "Very simple. You just take 500 of our Indian workers to your factories in Germany, train them, and you will find that they acquire the same level of skill as your German worker." He did exactly that. And today, that car is made in India, it's welded in India. So when we thought that welding an Ambassador car was the highest quality, today we realize that we can weld even a Mercedes-Benz car. So but young men and women must believe that we can acquire skills of world class. And it is in order to motivate you that we have launched this scheme. Jairam spoke about Himayat, Udan. These are important schemes. They are schemes tailored for special geographical areas. Himayat is tailored for the Naxal-affected area. Udan has been launched in Jammu and Kashmir. It is tailored for a conflict zone. But here we are offering a scheme that applies to the whole of India. In parts of India where there are no conflicts, there is no Naxalite menace, young men and women must come forward. Choose the skill that you want to be skilled in. Choose the institute where you want to be trained among the approved institutions. Work hard for that period of 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. And the government will pay you an average of 10,000 rupees. I'm told that in some cases where the course is a little longer and the skill is of a higher level, NSDC is planning to pay even as much as 15,000 rupees or so. The idea is that and the certificate is a highly marketable certificate. So I appeal to every one of you, the four pillars, sectors, skills councils, training institutions, above all, Babesh Chandra Jana, Arun Raj, and Sartak Jain are here. They will be given. They are medallion winners of the World Skills Competition, and we hope to felicitate them shortly. I want people to look at these three young men and believe that there's nothing that a determined and dedicated young man or young woman in India cannot do. We are as good as any in the world. We must believe in ourselves. We must apply ourselves to the task at hand. We must acquire the skills, and we must become a nation of skilled workers. And we must rediscover the great skills that our forefathers possessed when they built these grand monuments and produced these wonderful things, both in art and in craft. I compliment everyone who has been involved in this scheme. We have provided 1,000 crore in the current year. If we are able to skill 10 lakh people, we will pay out the 1,000 crore. The Prime Minister asked me at the Cabinet meeting yesterday, what will you do for next year? I said, if we can skill 10 lakh people every year, I think 1,000 crore is well spent. In fact, if we can skill 15 lakh people every year, 1,500 crore rupees is well spent. Money is not a constraint. I want to assure both the National Skill Development Agency and the National Skill Development Corporation, money will not be a constraint. We must find, we must motivate and attract the young men and women to acquire these skills. And if they acquire the skills, that is reward enough for the money that is spent. I have great pleasure in launching the scheme. Thank you.
Sir, may I request you